and welcome to the Open Ocean Pod. On this podcast, we welcome everyone to learn more about ocean science and the different career pathways into the field. We will be speaking with a variety of guests to gain some expertise and hear some insightful stories to motivate you to pursue your own passions. I believe that we can achieve greatness when people from all different backgrounds come together to share their knowledge. So that is why I've created this podcast as a platform for everyone to share their thoughts and hopefully make waves in the marine science industry. Thank you for joining us on the Open Ocean Pod, and I hope you enjoy today's episode. Hello, everybody. Welcome to today's podcast. Today, I have with me the wonderful Jess Winder. She is a third year MC student working on advocating accessibility in marine science. And would you like to sort of give yourself another little introduction into what you do?
Yeah, of course. I mean, thank you for having me. This is very fun, very exciting.
Of course.
So, yeah, I'm currently in my third year of the MSci, and Ocean Ability Alliance is essentially a way for me to advocate for people with chronic illness and hidden disabilities, but also visible disabilities, and getting into the marine science space. I guess kind of one of my main things is about connecting people to to the ocean, and for people that generally have previously felt like they very disconnected and it's not a space for them to work, that they can, and that there are ways, and to promote accessibility in that kind of way.
Yeah, amazing, amazing. And I'd also like to dive into the first question of what is your field of study and why did you choose it?
I am interested in so much. I wouldn't say I've picked a specific field. I'd say I love everything from like coral reefs and stuff like that, to megafauna. So my disc proposal that I've just finished doing is about behaviour, marine mammal behaviour on grey seals, or grey seals and common seals, looking at feeding behaviours and things like that.
Amazing.
I think behaviour is probably the main thing for me, actually. If I had to say one thing, it's probably animal behaviour. It's my favourite.
And what do you think led you to that? I mean, at least for the moment.
Yeah, definitely. I did an internship in Australia, in Cairns, and I was working at a turtle rehabilitation centre, and which was so much fun. I was doing physiotherapy on turtles. I never thought that would be anything anybody would ever have to do, but yeah, it's really beneficial for these turtles that they're trying to release back into the wild after being like hit by boats and things. But one of the things that I picked up on was the turtles would had preferences, food preferences, because we had a turtle called Shelby, and we were told you can't give Shelby the squid before the lettuce because she won't eat the lettuce. You've got to give lettuce before squid.
Wow.
And I just thought, why has no one looked into this? This is quite interesting. I thought,
Yeah.
and I wanted to know if will have an impact on her rehabilitation status and like what's going to be the best for her. So I want to transfer kind of what I saw and trying to test it. But in the UK, we've got grey seals in rehabilitation and common seals, so I want to apply it there.
Yeah.
I think
That's
where it
amazing.
came from. That's where it
Wow,
stemmed.
little Shelby.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I should ask for an update on her. I think.
Yeah.
I need to message my mate.
Oh, that's so cute. I
Yeah.
love that.
Yeah.
I love that so much. Okay, so to dive more into your sort of organization, the Ocean Ability Alliance, what is it? Why did you start it?
Yep.
And
Yep.
what are your overall goals?
So, I started Ocean Ability Alliance. The initiative started to improve accessibility in marine science, and it kind of came from me looking for an internship of something to do. I have MECFS, and so it's an energy limiting condition, kind of linked, kind of on the chronic pain kind of side of things, and so my ability to work long hours and be locked in for a long period of time is kind of struggle with that kind of thing. And particularly in the marine science space, long boat days, diving, and things like that. are just not something that would harm my health. I can't
Yeah.
do it. So I was looking for internships and things to do in the field and study that I'm interested in, and I was struggling. I couldn't find much that would fit like what my needs, or had no indication of there being any sort of accommodations to be made available.
Mm-hmm.
And so I found it really hard to find something. And so that's when I kind of started to think this is not just like, this must be common, because I am definitely not the only one who's trying to look for an internship who has some sort of accessibility requirements. So that's why I started it. Um, I would say my overall goals is to support inclusion in marine science and provide resources and stories, because I think the best way you can learn and the best way we can improve the space for accessibility is listening to the people who actually have the illnesses. And because then it will be just, if you're listening to stories and you're listening to people, then the best decisions can be made, not just assuming what someone might need.
Yeah.
Is the best way, I think.
Yeah.
So that's the spaces to share stories and promote inclusivity and have a space where people can go and say, I've noticed this. For me, what would be beneficial in this scenario would be if we did this. Um, and then I can go and put that forward to somewhere, whether that be the EDI committee here, or even just being someone who to advocate for people's needs, I think, is
Yeah.
what I want to do.
Amazing. That's so great to hear. So you're sort of giving a voice to people who didn't think they really had anything
Yeah,
to say.
yeah,
And
yeah.
can we dive into a little bit more who those people are? Like, who is the Ocean Ability Alliance for?
It's for uh, at the minute, it's definitely quite tailored towards students, because I really want to integrate it within the University of Southampton
Mm-hmm.
at Knox, with working with the EDI committee. So at the minute, my like forum is kind of for students, but I would love to kind of take it with me in whatever kind of field of study I go on to. And I guess overall, big picture, I'm thinking is anybody who's interested in marine science, anybody who thinks that I have the saying of like it's all hands on deck.
Yeah.
So it's got to be an inclusive space, because this is such a big uh, this is an area of study that like really needs everyone,
Yeah.
kind of thing. Um, so if we can make it more exclusive, I think it will benefit people and it will benefit the ocean.
Yeah. Exactly. Will benefit
Yeah.
the field as a whole.
Yeah, so big picture, it's anyone who's interested.
Yeah.
But I will say my forum is kind of something to feed back to the university at the minute.
Mm. Brilliant. I think there are so many exciting opportunities in the future for Ocean Ability Alliance. I
Yeah,
think it's only going to get bigger. So
I hope so.
it's really great. So the next question I have for you is, what do you think, or what do you know from the people that you've spoken to, are the current obstacles facing people when it comes to advocating themselves in ocean and earth science?
Um, so from people that I've spoken to, and also personal experience comes into play here, is I think it's lack of awareness and lack of understanding. So particularly with hidden illnesses and chronic illness, you it's not linear. You're not the same all the time. You have flare ups. You can have bad days, good days, but when on the good days, it doesn't mean you're not ill. You're still ill. You still have your illness, but you're just your symptoms aren't that bad, and then you can have you can have a crash. Is what it's called, and things can go sideways, and so there can be a lack of understanding of institutions or employers not really understanding that kind of cycle that you can go through, and leading to kind of skepticism about what you need, because you could be offered sometimes. For an example, a hypothetical example is you might need a specific kind of chair in a lab, and then one day you really need it and you're sat in it the entire lab, and another day you're up walking around and looking, doing everything as if you're not ill.
Yeah.
And some people and some employers might then question you of, it's the whole thing of validating and thinking that are you faking it, kind of, and that's kind of what people with hidden illnesses grapple with, of like trying to appear fine, but also not too fine that people think you're lying. I definitely have felt like that sometimes.
Wow. Yeah, that's so insightful to hear, honestly, because um, I think coming from mostly like ableist society,
Mm.
the viewpoint might be, oh, well, you get sick and then you get better.
Yeah,
It's not like they don't see it on the spectrum of it's something you live with
yeah,
your entire life. So,
yeah.
yeah.
And that it can flare or
Mhm.
it can be better for a while or
Yeah.
things like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, because people with chronic illness, particularly MECFS point of view, is you want to appear okay and fine because no one, like, you don't want to be down
Mm.
and feeling tired. Like, you don't want to, you want to be happy and you want to be good and you want to
Yeah,
be fine, but you also want to be taken seriously.
of course.
And it's trying to find that balance of being believed and, but also being taken seriously as like a person as well.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So there's a lack of understanding with that.
that's so interesting. Um, and Ocean Ability Alliance as well. You're sort of promoting the validation for people to say, hey, like, I do have these problems and it is
Mhm.
okay.
Mhm.
And like, there are
Mhm.
people that want to help.
Yeah. Basically, essentially, that
Yeah.
is definitely what I want people to feel comfortable expressing that they've got these conditions and that there's something in place that people can take that and understand it and just be really being able to have a two-way conversation about it and understanding each other's needs from
Mm.
an employer side and an employee side.
Yeah.
That needs to be there.
That's so great. And then, sort of moving into the academic space, how they can use the resources.
Mhm.
Um, how would for example, a student with like chronic illness,
Mhm.
um, where would they go to discuss their needs?
Right. So I think you've always got to speak to someone that you trust, whether that be your PAT or another a lecturer that you have a good relationship with. Um, and it's also important that the student disability and inclusion team know, because if you need to apply for special considerations, extensions, and things, you're already on file, and those processes are so much easier, and you don't have to continuously like write out and explain and send off proof documents and things like that. If you're on file, like for me, I've done that process of like they have my files, they have my doctor's notes, and then if I need special cons or an extension, like you can just put refer to my documents, and then you don't have to prove yourself every single time because
Mm-hmm.
that can be really draining, having to constantly upload doctor's notes and things like that.
Yeah.
So having it on file is really beneficial because things will just go a lot more smooth. Um, when it comes to discussing what would help you improve your accessibility, particularly in academia, um, I have created an anonymous feedback forum where you can put forward what you would find personally beneficial for yourself. Um, and I'm very keen to then take that to the EDI committee and say, students need this. Um, I will always advise that there's a two-way conversation between yourself and someone who can make that change for you. But if you don't feel comfortable, the forum's there, and I'm perfectly happy to go into a meeting and be like, we need this.
Yeah.
Very happy to do that. Um, and I strongly believe that the best and most practical changes do come from those who have those illnesses and those challenges firsthand. So I guess the forum is me trying to provide a direct way that students can voice their needs.
Mm-hmm. Amazing. And this anonymous feedback forum
Mhm.
will also be linked in
Oh,
whatever
brilliant.
this in this
Yeah,
video in
cool.
the description and
Yeah,
everything. Um,
lovely.
yeah. So let's sort of move into the world of work and
Mm.
yeah, like academic work, I guess.
Mhm.
Symposiums and conferences.
Mhm.
How can they be utilized to increase inclusion and awareness for disability and his illnesses?
Yeah. I think I've got like a top 3 things that I think would need to be considered, and that they're not very costly. I think they're things that would be quite easily implemented. So one would be include and prioritize accessibility planning in your event. So when you're designing your event and how you want like the flow of people to go, it is you're thinking about accessibility.
Yeah.
So then you don't run into problems at your event, and you can, when you're advertising your event, it can say something like that accessibility has been factored in, and we've done this, and this,
Yeah.
so that it's not an afterthought. So you're not so people with accessibility problems don't have to reach out to the organisers and asking, can I do this? Can I bring my wheelchair? Have you got space for me to leave crutches when I sit down? Things like that. That they're already there. You don't have, no one you don't have, no one has to ask you if you've done this, if you've got this. I think also with conferences, an increase in diversity of speakers, representative of speakers that have these kind of illnesses or disabilities, just pushing the boat out a little bit more of the diversity of people speaking, and also just providing hybrid and remote attendance, so that I know for myself, if I've woken up one day and I've flared up and can't get out of bed, and I bought a ticket for an event, it would be nice that even though I can't physically be there, I can at least join a live stream, Teams call, something like that, to be able to at least virtually attend. That would just be beneficial.
Yeah. Amazing. And that they are so easy and like economic.
Yeah, it doesn't cost any money.
Yeah.
I guess maybe if you need to invest in a bit of money into getting some ramps, or but you could just design around it. I've never designed a conference before, so I don't know what goes into it.
Yeah.
But it's just about putting that into people's minds, of like thinking about accessibility, and there might be easy ways to work around it. Again, I haven't designed a conference myself, but just making it aware and in people's brains of when they're doing it.
Yeah, exactly. And like you said, if you do it before sort of the planning stage, I mean, you can choose a venue that is more accessible over one that isn't.
Yeah, and not run into problems later down in the line.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Amazing. So I'd like to ask a little bit about EDI and what is the difference between equality and equity?
So they get used quite interchangeably, but I think that there's a clear difference between the two. So equality means giving everyone the same resources. Everyone gets the same.
Okay.
Did knock the mic there, I
That's fine.
apologise. Same resources, opportunities, treatment, regardless of their starting point. Equity recognises that people have different circumstances and ensures resources are distributed to create fair opportunities. So it's recognising that people have different starting points. Equity is probably more of takes into account people that have different starting points.
Yeah.
And brings everybody up to the same level and removes the barriers for the people that have those barriers in place, I guess. So disabled individuals can engage in academic and professional opportunities. Because if everybody's given the same thing, but someone's starting point was higher, they're still at an advantage, whereas equity distributes things fairly so that everybody's at the same level.
Yeah. Amazing. And I would also like to sort of clarify for the audience, EDI, what is it in an all-encompassing term?
Equity, diversity, and inclusion.
Okay, great. So how could the job search and application process be made more accessible for these people? And yeah, how does equity sort of come into that in marine science?
Yeah. For job searches, I think, well, going back to me applying for internships last summer, I wasn't aware if there would be any sort of accommodations available that they would be open to doing that. So I guess making it clear and transparent for accommodations can be made if you need. Just a bit of like reassurance in that way, so that you know that they offer that. Flexible application processes. So again, if you're physically unable to go to an interview, you're able to do it online, and that's not going to be a problem. That's not going to put you in a worse position than someone that does go in person. So things like that, and inclusive language, and making sure that people feel comfortable to put forward their needs, and allowing for reasonable accommodations to be available, and kind of stressing that. It just makes loads of people feel more comfortable, in my opinion. I do think that would make people feel a lot better.
Yeah. Yeah. Amazing. And I also wanted to stress like it's not just physical um, disabilities that cause you not to go to something in person. Obviously, mental is included in that as
Yeah,
well.
mental is definitely included in that.
Yeah.
Like things like anxiety and depression that can be physically debilitating on you as well. So, but there can be stigma around those kind of things, like mental
Yeah.
disorders.
Yeah. Of course.
So just not feeling like I've got to push through because I want to be taken seriously. I've got to push through, and make my health worse
Yeah.
in order to get this opportunity.
Yeah.
It's for you got to look after your health first, 100%.
Yeah.
And for employees to understand that, I think, and allow for these accommodations not to interfere with a hiring process or an application process, would be very comforting, and would push people. I think give people more confidence that they can get these kind of opportunities, and that they
Yeah.
can succeed in these kind of hiring processes.
Yeah. That's so great. And I know that you kind of touched on this already, but what do you think the responsibilities are of the employer and the employee in this
Yeah,
process?
I mean, I always think a two-way dialogue is beneficial,
Okay.
and they can working together to create like a really a safe space, like a
Yeah.
support, productive and environment good for the person's well-being, but also understanding the needs of the company, or the business. And an employer should listen and act on these things. And I do think the employee has a little bit of responsibility to communicate and engage in the process
Yeah.
of those kind of conversations. I know they can be uncomfortable, and in an ideal world, these things would already be taken into account.
Yeah.
But at the minute, we're not quite there yet. So being open to have these conversations with an employer was always beneficial.
Yeah.
To stand up for yourself, I guess.
Yeah.
Unfortunately,
I-
yeah. Do you know what
Yeah.
I mean?
Of course, of course. And I think if we sort of relate it to like an example of like women in sort of in business, obviously it's not the same, but we have come a long way in that regard. Women in the beginning, they did have to stand up for themselves.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I mean, we still do.
We still do.
We
Yeah,
still do.
100%. We still do.
Of course, but yeah, it is a responsibility, unfortunately, of the of the employee, to make sure it is, the momentum is still going.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and that, I guess the message I would want to put out is you have every right to. You have every right to organise a meeting with your bosses to express your needs. You have every right to do that. I think it's also legally under the Disability Act that they have to
Yeah.
accommodate for you as
Yeah.
well. So please step forward
Yeah.
and say what you need.
Yeah.
Express that.
Amazing. Amazing. So yeah, let's have some examples if you can think of any.
I think one thing that I've been able to help with is speaking with the EDI committee and helping out in trying to make things accessible in labs, particularly.
Yeah.
And examples that I've noticed is some people experience kind of eye strain, and materials have only been given in a digital format.
Okay.
And I noticed in a Lab M, I asked for a pen once to do some writing, and there was no pens in the lab.
Yeah.
And I thought, interesting, like no
Yeah.
pen or paper, like it's all digital. And then that just made me think, what about people with eye strain or dexterity issues that can't type for long?
Yeah.
So that was one thing that I brought up. Having pens and paper accessible for people, just available on the side. So like very small things, and so like just small simple things of offering multiple formats, providing seating choices, and normalizing accessibility tools can make an environment a lot more inclusive. Um, and again, just to um, with seating as well.
Yeah.
There's stalls in Lab M.
Mm-hmm.
Even for me, I have chronic pain,
Yeah.
but I know from my mates that don't have chronic pain
Yeah.
that they can't sit there for 3 hours.
I can advocate for
Yeah,
that.
lower back's just not fun for the lower back at all.
No.
So having offerings of chairs with backs would be really beneficial.
Yeah.
I think definitely
Yeah. Those little things,
just little things.
so important.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so to sort of move into your future plans, what are you looking forward to? What are your next steps for Ocean Ability Alliance?
I would love to get podcasts running. I'm here to steal the podcast. No, I'm not. To have another way of people to express their experiences and speak about how they've navigated the world of employability in academia with hidden illnesses. Um, just to talk generally about what they've been through, and also just have these kind of conversations on a podcast online with employers, and to have them also have a place to say what they've been able to do for accessibility. So just to let people know that that might not assume that they have, but and they have. So just a place to promote inclusivity, have a conversation with that. I definitely want to grow the Instagram page. I think Instagram's a great tool
Yeah.
for sharing stories. Um, and I want to integrate a bit more with the EDI committee, and get kind of integrate Ocean Ability Alliance with the EDI so that they can kind of display my forum and have like
Yeah.
a slide on the front of every first year class about it, so that students are aware
Yeah.
that I'm doing that with EDI. I
Yeah.
think that's what I want to do.
That's so great. I'm so excited for you.
Thank you.
Excited for the podcast.
Yes, definitely.
Um,
Might hear Bay on it on the other side of it. Who knows?
hey, yeah, this is your debut.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll have my debut.
Yeah, yeah.
So to sort of conclude, do you have any advice to students, undergraduate students, or people wanting to get into ocean ability? Ocean science. Um, yeah, do you have any advice for them if you were
Speak
looking
to
back?
someone that you trust, um, about what what barriers you think you might face if you're concerned about anything like that. Um, as, as soon as you start having a conversation about it with someone, it becomes less taboo, and becomes and it might just be a case of you speaking to a lecturer and saying you dim the lights too much in a lecture. Do you mind not doing that? And they'll be fine with it.
Yeah.
Or I've definitely spoken to a lecturer before of when during a 2 hour lecture they ask the class if they want a break. And it's like, I 100% definitely do need a break, but just throwing it out there to a lecture theatre of people that will not respond back to you, as cause people don't, and then just deciding, okay, I guess we'll continue because no one said anything. Maybe just saying that that doesn't work for you, like you would need a break in a 2 hour lecture, and then they'll be so fine with it and won't throw the question out. They'll just say, right, come back in 10 minutes,
Yeah.
and not leave it up to quite an awkward response of the whole class going, you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
which is not the normal response.
Exactly, because it's what is the
Yeah.
consensus?
Yeah, like no one knows.
No.
No one knows.
Yeah.
So just speak to people who you trust.
Yeah.
I think is like your pat. If you're comfortable speaking to your pat. I know Student Hub is also.
Yeah.
They've been really good for me. I haven't heard about any negative experiences. And they've been fine for me.
Yeah.
So I would recommend them as well.
Yeah, definitely. And like obviously it is quite sensitive topics sometimes that
Mhm.
you're sort of confiding in with
Mhm.
people. So
Mhm.
sometimes, maybe your pat isn't the person you want to go to.
Mhm. Yeah.
But also there is like, safety in numbers. So if you need to take a friend
Yeah.
to the student hub, like don't feel bad about
No.
doing that.
Yeah. 100%. You can do it, or you could DM Ocean Ability
Yeah.
Alliance. I'm the one on the other end. I'm very open about everything to do with my illness. So I'm definitely
Yeah.
someone to talk to and share experiences with. 100% open for that if anyone would feel comfortable, if they
Yeah.
needed it. If they needed a pal to complain about stuff with.
Yeah,
I'm there.
exactly. And it's like that camaraderie as well because, sometimes you might try and explain away your problems and you'll be like, oh, I'm having a really bad day, but it's just one day. Yeah, reaching out to somebody like Jess, she'll be able to tell you, listen to yourself.
Yeah. No.
It's okay.
Yeah. It's all good. It's
Yeah,
all good.
that's so great to hear.
Mhm.
And then a little bit of a personal question to end on.
Okay.
Well, what is your favorite species and why?
Oh, I've always loved parrotfish. They've been my favourite ever since I saw them when I was younger.
Yeah.
Um, I just think the male colouring of the blues and the purples, love them, and they look like they're flying underwater
Wow.
because they're with their pectoral fins. They don't really use their back fin. They just kind of float like
Yeah.
this around. Um, and you can hear them underwater all the time on a reef because they're constantly chewing at algae on rocks and stuff like that. Um, I just think that they're just so pretty. I
Wow.
just really like those ones.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Oh, wow. Being able to hear them must be amazing.
Yeah, it's just constant like grating against rocks, and you always know when there's one nearby. Um, yeah, I love them.
I love that. Well, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
Of course, we've had an amazing discussion and
Yeah,
hopefully it will help a lot of people.
hopefully that's the plan.
Yeah, exactly. And I'd just like to plug your
Mhm.
everything that you've got.
Yeah.
So you've got Ocean Ability Alliance on LinkedIn,
LinkedIn, Instagram.
Instagram, yeah.
Yeah, and all links are on the Instagram of anything you ever need.
Yeah,
Yeah, so I think go to the Instagram is the main place to go.
great. Okay,
Mhm.
and they will all be linked as well on YouTube and Spotify for this podcast. So
Perfect.
thank you
Yay.
so much.
Thank you so much. I've had a great time.
Yay. Thank you for joining us on the Open Ocean Pod today. Make sure to leave a like or comment if you enjoyed. And don't forget to check out our Instagram or LinkedIn pages for any updates. And if you have any requests or feedback, we'd love to hear it. Listen on YouTube or Spotify next week for another insightful episode. See you next time.